You're listening to Tehachapi with Key Budge, Corey Costello, Greg Garrett, and Ashley Whitmore.
It's Tehachapi time. Key Budge, Greg Garrett today. Joining us, Greg, we have Don Marsh and Tyler Napier from our Public Works Department, the top two that run everything from a day-to-day basis. Guys, welcome.
Thank you, Key.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We regularly talk about topics for the podcast, and one of those is we like to keep the community informed on what's going on here at the city.
Right.
And we have numerous departments. As you always talk about, you manage many corporations, and one of those is our Public Works Department has many different facets that take care of day-to-day services for the city.
Right, Key. So we wanted to bring Dawn and Tyler in and talk about not projects specifically that we're working on, but the maintenance of our infrastructure and the unsung heroes that maintain all of the publicly owned infrastructure, whether it's freshwater, wastewater, streets and roads, all of the different elements, landscape, those sorts of things. I made a list before we actually sat down, and I thought, wow, there's a lot here. So we might be here a while, or we might just try to be efficient and get it done in a quick amount of time. But yeah, welcome, guys.
And I think one of the kind of the overviews I'm looking at, or the goals that we'll have, is Tyler and I have had conversations. There's members of the community in the greater Tehachapi area outside the city limits that are curious about how things work, because they look at what their communities do and how they maintain things. And it's such a difficult conversation to have at that level. Maybe today's conversation might enlighten, because we'll start talking about some of the philosophies maybe that get you guys going on a day-to-day basis. And then I think that'll kind of give people a better overview on some of the goals that you have as a department, and many of the things that you do, the city community doesn't even see.
Right. And so we have, the above ground infrastructure that people see, but we also have the below ground that you don't see. That's, even more important. So above ground, you just put up the American flags all around downtown. They look beautiful, guys.
Yeah, a lot of work into that every year. It takes us a couple days to get all those put up. It really adds a lot to downtown.
Yeah, it sure
Makes
does.
a big difference. And people always are, hey, when are you going to put the flags up? When are you going to get those flags up? So every year, right before Memorial Day, we get those put up.
And I know our veterans appreciate that. We have such a patriotic community, and seeing those flags means it is summertime, and it's time to be outside and enjoy, what we have here in Tehachapi. And I know that's the kickoff. We hold it through Veterans Day, the flags, to make sure we are able to commemorate our veterans and those that sacrificed, paid the ultimate sacrifice for us. So we really, hold true to what our true core beliefs as a community are in saluting and celebrating our veterans and our military. So I know it just looks fantastic when you drive, down Tehachapi Boulevard or any downtown street.
For sure. And before you know it, you'll be putting up Christmas decorations.
Yeah, I was going to say, it would be nice if we had a little more time between Veterans Day and Thanksgiving, because it's a big turnaround, actually. We have to get those flags down. We get up all the Christmas decorations. We get that all going. And those have to be, all the decorations, the Christmas tree, all that have to be up by Thanksgiving. So there's a quick turnaround there, a lot of work between those two holidays, and sometimes there's not very many working days between there.
And keeping with the above ground infrastructure, festival support.
Yeah, we spend a tremendous amount of time supporting the local festivals, downtown special events. We got farmers market going every week, so we have quite a bit of setup for that every week, and then the tear down thereafter. We're doing the same thing for 4th of July, fireworks, and all the activities downtown at the park. And then just a few weeks later is mountain festivals. So just a few moments later is Christmas. And those types of things just continue to seem to never end. It's fun to watch our staff. They actually really enjoy volunteering to work those after-hours events or weekend events, to be a part of that. And then you could see them walking around. You'll see our guys with their City of Tehachapi shirts or their vests walking around. And you can tell that they truly take pride in that part of the community as well.
I truly believe the pride you see in your team, it's evident. And I know when I get a chance to talk to them, I go out and maybe snap a photo here or there, but talking to the guys, they're excited to talk about what they're doing and how they're taking care of the community. And I think it just really shows through.
Oh, yeah. We have such a high level group of experts. You could have someone with 30 years of water experience. For example, JR, one day I was following behind him a week or so ago, and he pulls off the road and just picks up a bunch of trash off the side of the road. Water department, right? That's not their job per se, but he sees the big picture of its community at large, City of Tehachapi. We're all on the same team here. So that's just one example of the team we have.
It's good stuff.
Really lucky to have a phenomenal bunch of guys and ladies who really do care about the city, care about the look, the feel, and then on top of that, doing their real job, which is, maybe water, maybe wastewater, or any number of things that they're directly responsible for. But Tyler's right, they truly do care and take pride in the way things look and feel downtown.
Right, and Dawn and Tyler, since the sun has started to shine and winter is kind of behind us, not quite actually, it's a little cool still,
Yeah.
but we've been painting stripes on streets, we've been slurry sealing, we've been crack sealing, fire hydrant painting, sidewalk panel replacements, those sorts of things. That's a lot of planning goes into that, a lot of dedication, budgeting, resources, work orders, all those things are happening also as we speak.
That's never ending. Asphalt maintenance is a huge part of what we do with our streets crew. Potholes, crack sealing, like you said, all of the striping on the streets, red curbs, fire hydrant painting, all that, tree trimming, all of those kinds of things is never ending. It's just constant, and we're trying to do as much as we can to make permanent repairs or fixes that are longer term, but a lot of the time we have to just go and patch a pothole. We can't repave the street just on a whim, so that's more of a long-term planning effort, but a lot of pothole patching.
Speaking of not being able to do it just on a whim, you created, Dawn, a couple years ago, this street matrix. We've talked about this a lot, this asphalt matrix. Why don't we touch on that a little bit? Because we're seeing the fruits of that labor now. Because you put together that matrix, we're able to target funding or grant funding. So we don't use city taxpayer dollars. We're going to use state and federal money to fill in the potholes, if you will. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, just real quick. We talked about this before, but we do have a database for all of our streets and roads. It includes all the square footage, the length, the width of every street, all of the striping, the stop bars, everything that's painted down on the street, that's called striping, and then as well as all the street signs, everything. And the most important part is it includes in this database pavement condition index. So that's a measurement, a physical measurement of the condition of that road, how good a shape it's in, or how poor shape in many cases, how the asphalt is. So we took all that and it's broke down basically by block. So every block of every street has a segment. So we took that, we sorted it all based off of the pavement condition index. There's a little bit of subjectivity in there as well, as far as the amount of traffic on the road and the criticality of the street. And then also, can we get grant funding for it or not? So anyways, we developed a 10-year plan of these are the streets that we're going to repave every year. So we have a list of all those projects for the next 10 years on which ones we're going to repave. And we've weaved into that as well the different funding sources that go along with that. Some of them are federal funds, some are state funds, some are gas tax, some are funded by the general fund.
And SB1 funds, those sorts of things. Speaking of all that, how many square feet or linear miles, what do we have in the city?
Yeah, so if you just measure the streets and line them all up, it would be about 50 miles worth of streets.
50 miles.
The official term is called lane miles. That's around 450 lane miles, because a lot of our streets are pretty wide, even though they're only 2 lanes, but they're typically wider. So the number of square feet is a lot. But on a square footage mile basis, we have 10.3 million square feet of asphalt. 10.3
Sounds like
million.
a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of asphalt. So,
No,
but
for
49 miles is the short answer to your question.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, so you've got with this 10-year plan, it goes over all of the streets. Where are we at in the 10-year process?
Well, it's kind of rolling. So
Okay.
We are in the 3rd year, headed into the 4th year of that plan. But as we go, we just add 3 more years.
Kind of like our budget. We have a 5-year budget, and it's all we're adopting a 1-year budget, but the next 4 are the projected years. Same thing with your matrix, I suppose, huh?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. We just keep adding more years because you're never done. It's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
Once you get to one end, you start back on the other end.
And traffic patterns change a little bit. We just opened Pinion Street, so it's going to change some traffic patterns key. Things change as we move forward.
That's kind of to the point I wanted to come to with this 10-year plan. And as you address, you've got 3 different levels of work that gets done, if I remember correctly: rehabilitation, repave, and I forget what the third was.
Preventative. Yeah. So there's different types of maintenance that we'll do on each of the roads. And you've seen some of that as we've gone through the last few years, that we do a slurry seal that's really a preventative type measure to keep the road in a decent condition before the asphalt gets too deteriorated. And then the main other method is grind and overlay. So we'll go down and we'll grind out about 2 inches of the existing asphalt, and then we'll lay 2 inches of new asphalt on there. If the road is completely shot, super bad, we will go in and just tear out all the asphalt and put down 4 inches of new asphalt.
And then each of those different types of maintenance is hugely different in dollars and cents.
Yeah.
So the more that we can do in the slurry seal preventive, that's great. So you make sure you catch that early when it's ready, so it doesn't become the worst.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. They become factors of 10 or 20 in cost as you go up on those different methods.
So you try and balance that within the budget each year. You look and see we can do certain amount of slurry seals. This really needs to get redone, or we can do that grind and overlay. So you're working within a budget, trying to make sure you get the most out of all those dollars and cents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know when mobilization costs are high, so you want to try to do as much as you can when the contractor's here. Slurry seal, for example, the slurry seal that we did on the streets a couple weeks ago is about 35 cents a square foot. And that's those pennies add up to dollars, and those dollars adds up to, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But it's well worth it because we're saving those streets from spending, tens of thousands of dollars, on
hundreds of thousands,
dollars instead of pennies per square foot on the asphalt.
Yeah, we did all of that slurry seal, and the total cost was about $300,000. If with the grind and overlay work that we plan on doing, that'll get us about 3 blocks of downtown city blocks of grind and overlay. Whereas we did about 20% of the entire city with slurry seals. So, that gives you a relative difference in the cost.
But that's what planning does for you, right? If you plan out your day, your week, your month, your year, your 5 to 10 year, then you can save tax dollars, and you can better understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and you get the right people in the right place and the dollars set and managed, and you really start to click, firing on all cylinders, if you will. And that's what we're doing right now.
And then with the sidewalk maintenance, you guys are going around town, or people tell you that there might be maybe an issue, some roots have raised, a panel of sidewalk, and then your team's out there, Tyler, taking care of it.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have 5 or 6 concrete experts in our town that can tear out, form, grade, prep and finish. Purchasing concrete itself, the actual material is fairly cheap. It's when you get into the labor. If you go to contract out your new driveway to your house, you're talking $10,000. But if the 3 of us can get out there and do it, it's going to cost $2,000, just in materials. So we're very fortunate. We have, led by our street supervisor, Jimmy. He's an expert. He's amazing. He leads that team at all times. And so we're constantly looking throughout the town. We take customer complaints, of course, that come in where, hey, there's a sidewalk panel that's raised up. It's a trip hazard. Sometimes we can grind that edge down a little bit to kind of, like you said, buy us some time. It's kind of like patching a pothole instead of repaving it, right? We can grind the edge down to make it a little smoother and safer, or it's we got to tear it out. The nice thing is we can respond to those fairly quickly. When I came to work here about 8 years ago, that list was pages long of sidewalk hazards. And I think we're down to a half a page. Taking the worst first is kind of the methodology there. And for the listeners, please, if you notice something in your community, your area, and you see something, please call us. We do not have the ability to walk every sidewalk in town. So Don and I were kind of joking earlier, like, I wonder how many miles of sidewalk or how many square feet of sidewalk we have in this town. I'm not sure I even want to know, but what we do know is we can't walk and see every one of them. So please call us, let us know. We'll take a look at it, get in the system, get in the work order system there for sure.
And you can also utilize our Text My Gov.
Yeah.
661-441-3844. And I'm not sure if sidewalk is in there. I'm going to build that in.
Oh, great.
But you can, if they put it under pothole and they fill out the form until then, is that okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll get
about
the right
category. We'll get it one way or another,
Okay.
and we'll figure out.
Okay, so if you just go ahead and you want to subscribe, it's a free service that we offer to make it easier so you don't have to call an automated line code. Just text 661-441-3844. Text the word hi, and you're opted in, and then you can just one word, you can put pothole, and then we'll send you the form, and then you fill it out, and then it goes straight to our Public Works Department.
I'm just sitting here thinking, every time we mention this, we get a lot of requests from outside the city.
Oh,
right. And you used the word community a moment ago. You must live in the city to
Yeah.
receive our service.
Right.
For potholes or sidewalks.
Yeah, I get that question all the time. Where is the city? I say, okay, Tucker to Love's Truck Stop.
Well, go
you
in
know, it's kind
Texas
of
and we'll let you know, and then we can obviously we'll direct you to where you need to go if you're not within the city limits of the city of Tehachapi. But Jimmy and his crew, the maintenance crew, they work hand in hand with our landscape crew.
Absolutely. You know, our landscape and grounds division, we call them, is led by Andy. Andy's been in the landscape and grounds maintenance world for decades. He has a phenomenal team. You know, they have a team of employees that, especially this time of year, weeds and trash, right? It's a big deal to keep a city free of weeds and free of trash because it never ends, right? It's just the constant battle there. So Andy manages that crew in an amazing way. We spend every single day, someone goes around to all the downtown trash cans, empties them, you know, replaces the bag, that kind of thing. And I don't even know how many we have down, 100 something.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's over 100 now. We've added a few, so we're over 100 trash cans.
Yeah, and we're going to be adding more, you know, those types of things.
And people use them.
They work. Oh, yeah.
They do.
Yeah. They work. Absolutely. So that's a big one. Andy also has one employee, Kyle, who we kind of call him a irrigation tech. Kyle has been spending the last year or so truly dialing in our irrigation system. So we have, for reference, you know, at each house, everyone has kind of one sprinkler timer and they probably have 25 sprinklers for their shrubs and grass, things like that. Well, we have 55 irrigation controller timers throughout town. That's parks, that's shrubs, that's medians, that's landscape around different buildings or different streets and sidewalks, things like that. So as you can imagine, you know, I have a hard time managing the 12 or 15 sprinklers at my house. They're always broken, right? If you ask Kyle today, if you see him on the side of the road, you can walk up to him and ask him, hey, Kyle, how many sprinklers do we have? And he'll say 8,827 rotors and 12,000 bubblers. I mean, the guy has it all inventoried, fully mapped out through the Google Map system. He fully understands every aspect of our irrigation system, which you see that efficiency translate to our landscaping, you know, right? If the irrigation is working properly, the landscaping is going to look great. So he's also in the process of doing a full upgrade to our irrigation system. And it's a cloud-based system through Rainbird called IQ4. And Kyle can access every irrigation controller on his phone or his laptop or any web-based system there. And he can get real-time updates on the flow rate at Warrior Park, for example. Zone 1's on and it's flowing 97 gallons a minute. Well, for example, if a kid kicks a sprinkler head off and that sprinkler head's shooting water up in there, it's going to flag that zone. It's actually going to shut that zone down and alarm him. So either that real time or the next morning, he's going to get an alert saying Zone 2 at Warrior Park has been shut down due to high flow. Well, typically for years, we would only respond to that by a customer complains, say, hey, we see a geyser shooting up at Warrior Park. Great, thank you for letting us know. Or, man, why is the grass dying in this area? Well, that water's going over here and not being watered over there. So now we're able to be very, very quickly responding to those issues, which again, that translates over very, very quickly to providing a better service and a better product to our customers. And then the secondary piece to that, which you could call a primary or secondary, is the water savings, right? We're not wasting water. Kyle is incredibly efficient with the water use at our parks and our landscaped areas. So that's been a huge benefit for us. So thanks to the City Council for supporting us in that endeavor. Thanks to Kyle for his leadership in that as well. One final piece with Andy's group with the Landscape and Grounds is Brightview. Brightview is a contractor we hired a year or two ago.
Year and a half.
Yeah. So we went out to bid. We go out to bid every so often for the landscape contract, which it's a big contract. Brightview was awarded the contract. They hit the ground running, had a couple bumps along the way of trying to kind of figure out our city and how we like the standards we want them to be. And as you can tell, we're very, very pleased with their work. They're doing a phenomenal job. Things look healthy. They look really taken care of very well. On my way over here, I was driving near the high school and I just see one of their employees just walking up and down Denison, picking up trash along the landscaped areas near Orchard Glen. You know, they're an additional piece to our staff. You know, they understand that we want the details of the little pieces of trash blowing. It's not just mow the grass and get out of there, you know. So Andy manages that. You know, he's got to manage that contract and his team. So we're very proud of that team.
I wish we could name every one of them by name, but obviously we don't have time. One more thing that I wanted to talk about above ground before we go underground, and that is retention and detention basins. So the stormwater, it runs along the gutters, it goes into a retention and detention basin. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, a lot of work goes into those with weed abatement primarily. And that's all manually done. A bunch of guys in there with weed whackers. A few years ago, we did rent a remote control mower, and that worked pretty good. That was we had a lot of podcasts and videos posted on social media for that. It was kind of a cool thing to do, and it was pretty efficient. That's an every couple of year type of thing. In the meantime, we've been just getting there with weed whackers and a few guys mowing down those weeds, and that's a constant maintenance item.
And we do vector control, which is mosquitoes, right? So the water is sitting there. So we do vector control there. But also we're capturing that water, so it's soaking back into the aquifer, and it's the right thing to do. So there's a lot of technology out there that I think people don't see on the surface.
Along those lines, one of the other things that people don't realize is there's a lot of, similar to the retention basins, there's a lot of areas that are non-landscaped that the city is responsible for doing weed control for. And we do a lot of pre-emergent spraying for those areas. And we have about 5 million square feet of areas that we spray for weed control. It's about 113 acres total of area that we do preventive maintenance on, or pre-emergent spraying. That a lot of that is at the airport, other areas along all the bike paths, other areas around town that are non-landscaped but require some weed control.
It'd be nice if the farmers to the east of us did that we were not inundated with tumbleweeds, Key, every year.
Fortunately, I guess we don't do any of the private property. We only do city-owned property.
No, for sure.
That obviously that helps with the look and the feel of the community with the weeds along the roads. But if we don't spray, then staff's out there weed whacking for
preventative is the key.
Days and days.
Yeah,
and
we
days,
need dozens of people
sure.
to take care of that if we didn't
we'd never
spray.
keep up.
Well, let's go underground. Let's talk about fresh water into a home or into a business. That sounds like a piece of cake, right?
Yeah, no big deal.
How hard could that be?
How hard could that be? How do we manage that?
Yeah, so we're very fortunate. We have we'll mention his name, JR. I mentioned him earlier. JR is our utility supervisor for the water department. He leads a team of 5 full-time employees in the water department, and they manage everything from the groundwater wells. So we have 6 potable wells in the community. So we pump it out of the ground, goes to transmission, distribution, to storage, to the customer. From the well site to the pipelines, to the tanks, to the other pipelines, back to your house, to the meter, right along your sidewalk or edge of property. They manage everything in between there. So, of course, that's the production, that's the wells, that's water leaks, that's, valve exercising, hydrant maintenance, meter replacements, water leaks, the list of things goes on and on and on. Some of those things, unfortunately, are reactionary due to, a water leak. We get a call from a customer. Hey, there's water flowing. We go through that process, of course. But then, of course, there's the preventative aspect of it, of flushing, hydrant maintenance, valve exercising, things like that. Meter
pressure zones, testing.
Oh yeah, we could go on for hours just on the pressure zones, and then of course the water quality aspect of it. Every Monday, guys go around town. We collect half a dozen water samples for a variety of things. Those samples are delivered to a state-certified laboratory in Bakersfield, just like every water system, and those are analyzed, and that's all part of our ensuring the customer confidence that the water is safe to drink.
That's a good thing to remind everyone, is that weekly we test everything at different locations, so that way we do know, and we can put that stamp of approval saying this is high quality. It meets all the standards.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our budget's anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 per year in laboratory costs. Of course, that doesn't include the staff time and things like that, but it's money well spent, right, to ensure that the customer has the confidence that when they consume that, then it's safe to drink. And about actually less than a week ago, every customer in the city should have received their annual consumer confidence report. It's a trifold, very, very nice document. And every year when those go out, I actually got a few calls and emails this last week. One guy's quote was, and I loved it, I was so happy he called. He said, "Can you just translate this in English to me, please?
Is it safe to drink?
Is this safe to drink or not?" And I just said, "Hey, you know what? I have 3 dogs and 6 kids, and I live in the city, and we drink. That's enough. I'm good. That answers my question. Thanks for your time," and hung up. So it was great, because it's a lot of information. It's a lot of data. People don't understand what all that means most of the time. But that's state requirements. All water systems do that. But there's a lot of effort and energy put into ensuring that water is safe to drink.
We coordinate with our neighbors too. Golden Hill CSD. We have an intertie in case there's a problem there or in the city, so we can share that resource.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal partnership. I'm very, very grateful every night to know that I can go to sleep at night, that if there was a problem where they didn't have enough water or we didn't, we could turn a couple valves and we could be sharing water one way or the other to ensure that no one ever runs out.
Another level of mutual aid.
Yeah.
We talk about that in public safety all the time, and there's nothing more critical than our water drinking system. So
absolutely.
People don't realize how heavily regulated the water industry is. There's so many regulations and requirements and testing and certifications. All of our water operators have to be licensed, and multiple levels of licensing depending on the type of work they do and how long they've been here. And it's very regulated by the city and or by the state. Sorry. We talk about that we kind of operate in the shadows, that nobody really understands or realizes what goes on in the water department or in public works in general, but hopefully we can pull back the curtain a little bit here and let people. Sure.
Don mentioned licensed operators. We actually have 5 full-time operators in the water department, which are licensed, but we actually have 10 licensed operators in our public works departments. We have guys in streets, in wastewater, and other departments that are actually licensed water operators as well. So we have a lot of cross-training there, which is huge benefit for us.
I'm curious about, we talked about the road maintenance plan, but I do know that identifying needs underground, we've looked at that, and it was something that kind of kicked in this year unexpectedly, or maybe it was kind of a little bit expected ahead of the plan. Denison Pipeline. You guys had identified that as a potential problem, and it needed to be replaced, and it kind of accelerated its timeline for you, but you guys already had the plan in place. You had a design already done, right, and it was just waiting to be budgeted in. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, that was one of those areas of town that was kind of a chronic problem for us for a variety of reasons. But like you said, engineering team got it designed, got it ready to go, just waiting for the funding, the right timing. Anybody that lives in Orchard Glen Track or kind of the east end of Tehachapi, they know when that line we'd have a leak on that, we'd have to bypass. They'd deal with low water pressure for a little while until we dealt with the problem. But yeah, that was a phenomenal thing that we were able to fund that and get it replaced in a very timely fashion with minimal impact to the resident. Kind of fingers crossed that those problems go away now. So we're excited about that.
Fingers crossed. We have a warranty. It better work.
Yeah, absolutely.
My expectation is it's going to work.
Done right too. We know that.
Similarly, sorry, Keith, we did do similar project before that one, which was the Cherry Lane pipeline as well.
That's right.
And so we identified those 2 pipelines as problem children a few years ago, and so we actually proactively did the design work and engineering on that to get those lines replaced. And then we budgeted both of them. And like you said, we did accelerate the Denison pipeline because it was becoming more of a problem and just not worth waiting.
And because you designed both at the same time, it saved money at the design time, and then it saved time.
Yep.
And probably money because you already had it approved, ready to go, and that design wasn't waiting to, we've got to put it together, we got to put it on paper before we go out and fix it, and you guys were ready to roll.
That's right.
Well, let's go further underground now.
Well, let me just, because Greg, this
I'm excited to talk about some other stuff, you can tell.
But for me, the one of the important parts about what we just talked about was the planning. And then having healthy, reserves, you're able to take care of these things when they do pop up.
Yeah, not me, the team. Take care of it. You're right. So, our budget is healthy. We'll be presenting the budget to the city council here soon, but a balanced budget with extremely healthy reserves. We have $19 million in reserves, $16 million in hard green cash, and a couple million in loans to ourselves for certain things. But we couldn't do it without good, smart money management. And when we need to do something, whether it's planned or unexpected sometimes, right, Key? You have the cash to do that. Good stuff.
So you want to dig a little deeper?
So I want to, go further underground. So sewer lines are below water lines, right? For good reason.
Correct.
So we're going to go deeper underground and talk about wastewater. Let's do that for a second. What's going on at the wastewater plant? How does that work?
Yeah, the most exciting department, right? Everyone wants to know about wastewater.
Well, if they only knew, though.
Yeah.
The science behind wastewater treatment is amazing, and we can give tours. We have.
Yeah, I actually did.
So if anybody out there, give Tyler a ring, and maybe we'll set something up.
Yeah.
No promises, but maybe we'll do it.
I gave a tour to probably 8 or 10 people from the high school. They're the staff that kind of works with students, trying to help them get in the trade business. They were at the wastewater plant for 2.5 hours. They were fascinated. They just loved it. They loved every aspect of it.
That's a good word.
It was fun. So yeah, wastewater is exactly what you can think of. Flush your toilet, your laundry, your sinks, your showers, your dishwashers. That water, the beauty of living on a sewer system is once it's gone from your property, you don't have to worry about it. We take care of that for you. It's not like a septic where you're going to pay for it down the road. So we have 3 full-time operators in our wastewater department. They manage everything from the collection system. So that's the sewer main lines out in front of your home, down the roads or the alleys, all the way to the treatment plant. That includes 1 sewer lift station, which basically services the Tucker commercial area from kind of Save Mart all the way down towards Walmart. There's a lift station, everything gravity feeds there, and then it gets pumped to the plant. But that's probably 10-15% of our volume is from that area. Everything else just gravity feeds all the way to the plant. Once it gets to the plant, there's a biological process that it goes through for the treatment, and then that treated effluent goes to a holding pond, and then we actually pump that water out towards the rodeo grounds and airport, and we have a contract farming operation out there that farms alfalfa out there on our rodeo grounds and airport property for us there for the reuse of the water.
And we're going to be maintaining this year we budgeted for, and we'll be letting out a contract. I think we did already.
Correct.
For not improvements, but the maintenance of the existing plant, the clarifier, a portion of the plant process.
Yeah, the clarifier is basically the last mechanical aspect of the treatment process where the water slows down, the water settles, the clean water kind of comes off the top and leaves the plant. We're going to be actually taking that clarifier offline, so we're going to empty it out. So all the operators were all kind of excited to see what it looks like without any water in there. They're going to do a bunch of maintenance, replace the drive, clean it, inspect it, epoxy coating, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be about a week-long project in early July. So, because those are the kinds of things, if that failed, out of nowhere, if there wasn't preventative maintenance on that failed, that's a catastrophic failure for us. There is no redundancy to a clarifier typically. You either have one and you're hoping it works. So we're actually going to bring in a bypass unit. This unit will do and act as it's a trailer-mounted unit that will act as the clarifier while we take this one offline. So again, healthy reserves, healthy budgets, we can maintain those assets to ensure that we don't have catastrophic failures.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I don't think anybody wants to get that phone call that says, please don't flush your toilet.
Yeah.
We have a problem at the wastewater plant. So we want to make sure that never happens.
A lot of people working 24/7, literally 24/7, making sure that fresh water is in, wastewater's out, streets are safe. It's similar to a police department. It is part of public safety, right? It's health and safety at the end of the day, everything that Don's crew does. So, and not to leave out fleet. You guys maintain all of our vehicles, all the way from, a vehicle, police department vehicles, to all of the dump trucks and everything that we use. I don't know how many vehicles we have. I'd have to look it up, but it takes a lot of people to do the work that we're talking about, and a lot of equipment equating into fleet, right?
Yeah, Don will tell you.
Over 100 pieces of rolling stock altogether, about 20 PD vehicles, police vehicles, and then about 40 vehicles that we use in public works, and some here at the city.
Building inspections, those sorts of things.
Building inspector, those kinds of things. And then 26 pieces of equipment that we maintain and operate.
Like a backhoe or a dump truck, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't include all the weed whackers and generators and all those types of things too.
Yeah, we have, I was counting it up before this, and we do over 185 oil changes a year on our equipment. So that's just, again, a preventative type maintenance that we do. And of course, every one of those pieces of equipment has at least 4 tires. And so there's a lot of maintenance on that. Brakes, of course, all those things that you maintain on your car at home, you can multiply that by about 100. And that's how much we have to do here. And we have 2 full-time fleet coordinators who manage all of that and do the vast majority of all the work. There's sometimes we'll take things in to be done by the dealer or somebody else if it's a major effort that we just don't have time to do here. But for the most part, we do everything here. We track all of that maintenance through our tracking system, and of course, we track all the costs for that as well.
Yeah, going back to the public safety aspect, those police cars need to work. When they get in those cars, those need to work, and our mechanics take great pride in ensuring those brakes are right, the engine's correct, the tires are in the proper working order. So we always put public safety vehicles at the highest priority. We would push off any other things if we need to make sure that the police department has the assets they need to respond quickly. When you call, they don't want to hear, "Oh, my tire's flat." Those aren't optional. We make sure that those are at the highest priority.
I would say that when I listen to everything we've talked about, the key part of this is planning and having a plan in place, and managing that plan. Because you can have a plan, but if you don't manage it and follow it, things fall apart. And it's just like we do at home. You've got whatever your routine to take care of things at home. We have to follow that routine, but you have to identify and look into the future. How long is that going to last? And so you factor in, there's a lot of math that's involved in these equations about longevity, when is the replacement, figuring that into budgets. There's a lot of pre-planning
There's
That's
a
what
lot
I
of
can say.
planning, and every employee is a planner. I've been saying this for years. We're all planners. We've been talking about some top-level planning. But you think about when a police officer gets a call, he's planning in his head on the way to that call what to expect. Now, he may not, receive or get to the place where he thought he was going to get, but you got to be thinking about planning at every level. It's like Hugo and our maintenance, all these facilities that we own, City Hall Annex, the police department, all the different facilities, they have to be maintained. And so we just have it. We have all of our employees are planners, and I love it.
It's one of
They
the
do
things
a
in the
great
Public
job.
Works Department that I'm most proud of. We have every week we have a weekly planning meeting for our team and the leads of each of these different. We have 6 different divisions within Public Works, and there's a representative from each of those at this planning meeting on Thursday mornings. And I'm so proud of the way that these guys work together and share resources, whether it be equipment or people. A lot of the times we have somebody from our street division, they're doing a concrete project or an asphalt project, and they say, I could really use a laborer for about 2 hours on Tuesday. Is there any way I could get somebody to help me with that? And whether it's a wastewater person or a water person or a laborer from the landscape division, there's never a problem getting some help from one of the other divisions. They always are stepping up, and they plan and coordinate that work amazingly. It helps a lot for things to go smooth during the week, that they know what they're going to be doing a week ahead of time, and sometimes more. We like to plan out further than that, even if we can. But for sure, the plan is pretty firm on Thursday for the next week, and just so proud of how these guys work together and coordinate that work. They just do a phenomenal job.
And same thing with Jay over at Development Services. He has a planning meeting with public and private projects. And then Don, you and Key and I, we attend those, and we talk about, the cross-pollination, and the same thing with Lieutenant Dunham at the police department. I attend those meetings, and we communicate really well. We understand what's happening today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And, we plan as far out as we can.
Well, I know that when you think about relationships, whether it's working, personal, business, they always say the breakdown always starts with communication. And the key to it is talking and sharing that information and not holding it, close to the vest. And the more collaborative we are, whether it's within our city or with other organizations and other businesses, we just get stronger from that.
Well, and that's what we're doing right now, Key.
Exactly.
Talking to the listener,
That's
communicating to the listener.
Exactly.
Yep.
Greg, is there anything else that
I had my list, and I've scribbled everything, and I'm done. So, man alive, keep up the good work. I know we just hit the tops of the waves, gentlemen, but appreciate
Yeah, we
you
can
and
spend,
all of your team members.
A couple hours on each of these 6 divisions within Public Works.
Certainly.
Is there anything that we didn't mention or bring up?
There is one piece of glue that holds the whole thing together, and that's our admin.
Yeah.
I
I was just thinking Liz.
She's the one person that supports all of these 28 other people who are part of Public Works, and she does all of the work orders, the planning, as far as ordering parts and materials, and she just does a phenomenal job as well to
Hear, hear.
help keep the wheels turning with all of these guys out there.
Yeah, I know Liz follows through. If you reach out to her, if you guys are busy out in the field doing something, when we get to her, it gets to the right place.
Yeah, she coordinates all of the special events, making sure that we get the right road closure stuff going and that everybody knows exactly what's required, and it's amazing.
And we're auctioning off public property. She's coordinating that and making certain that the people that bought the equipment get the right equipment, and they're paying for that. And yeah, just A to Z, really. Liz is the A to Z.
All right, so that's Public Works. All right, that's all we need to know.
All right.
Awesome. Until next
You guys
time.
are experts.
Well, appreciate all the work that your team puts in, because we see it. And the other day, Greg and I were just driving around, and we stopped and we talked about an area that a few years ago was like this problem spot of, like, in the landscape world. Someone would talk about it, and we said, boy, Andy and his team have really addressed that, because we weren't aware of it. You guys weren't aware of it, but there was someone who just walked the sidewalks every day and used to share, hey, that's a dead zone. And then we've met with them and they identified it. Andy went out there and it's like, it's not now. It flourished. It looks beautiful.
No doubt.
But it's about communication. That means those of you in the community, we listen. If you share with us something that you see, we're going to address it, or we'll tell you, well, that's not ours to do, or whatever the answer is. We're here to make sure that we're taking care of your infrastructure, your assets as being city residents, and we care. So I think that's the message we definitely want to get across.
Yeah, one quick thing back to facilities that I think most of the public understands, but in addition to the buildings and the facilities that the staff works out of, we also have the BK Theater, we have the train depot, we have the visitor center, we have the museum. Those are all city-owned facilities. Senior Center. Those are all city-owned facilities that Hugo manages and maintains all of that. And Hugo takes the approach that those are his customers, right? He walks into the building, he meets with Mr. Brown at the Senior Center. Hey, what do you need? How can I help you? What's the biggest concerns? And they talked about the parking lot. The parking at the Senior Center is dangerous. It's hazardous. Well, we budgeted, put the plan together, and recently completely redid the parking lot there, So that's driven with our inspection program. We have inspections of every facility on a monthly basis, every bike path, every park, things like that. So that's also support of the community events that go on at the BK Theater and the train depot. We have amazing volunteers there, but we are that kind of behind-the-scenes support to them as well.
It just strengthens the relationship we have with the nonprofits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you have a question based on our discussion today, please let us know. You can send it to us at media@tehachapicityhall.com. We'll do our best to answer it, and we'll throw it back to Tyler or Don, and we'll get that response. Or if it's regarding another department, we'll get that answer and bring it to you right here on a future episode. We appreciate the time. Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll catch you again soon right here on Tehachapod.
Tehachapod is a conversation about Tehachapi, featuring the community members who make this such a special place to call home. If you have a question or a thought you'd like to share, email media@tehachapicityhall.com. Thank you to Gary Mazzola for sharing his song, This is Tehachapi.